Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the task that rejoiners have got in 2021 as many come out of the necessary hibernation during the transition period, and how they are frankly going to have to face up to the causes of past defeats, because they were defeats. It wasn't just Brexiteers won because of this and this. Rejoiners or Remainers at the time lost. We got it wrong. We got the tactics wrong. Need to learn from that lesson. And I think we could learn a very good lesson from Marcus Rashford, one of the heroes of the UK of 2020. For those who don't know, he stopped this Brexit government from forcing kids unnecessarily to go hungry during school holidays. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, big task now, huge task, actually, for both rejoiners and hardcore Brexiteers, neither of whom got what they want. And I'll be talking about the hardcore Brexiteers in another video. But first, the camp I would identify with, rejoiners. Those wishing the UK to rejoin the EU, preferably with all haste. However, haste can be problematic, and it could be a problematic fixation for the cause. I worry that some rejoin campaigns will focus so much on the quickest route back into the EU that they take a path that doesn't lead there at all. Looking around right now at the most influential voices in rejoin groups around the UK, and what do we see? Sure, a lot of talk about what we're losing, even with this deal, and I'll be taking a look at a lot of that over the next week and over the next year and probably over the next 5 years. Because we're losing a lot. We are losing a lot. But there's also a lot of focus on the political battles in Westminster, British Parliament. The Conservatives are presenting their deal to Parliament very soon. I expect little opposition from Tory MPs. Labour, the main opposition party and the only party that can form a government in 2024 to actually oust these Conservative Brexiteers, are also going to vote in favour of it. Or more specifically, Keir Starmer's leadership is going to whip Labour MPs to vote for it. There will be Labour MPs who will defy the whip and either abstain or even vote against it. It could be quite a few. I've talked before about the pitfalls of any option the leadership had, and this is why, bear in mind, Boris Johnson doesn't actually have to bring this deal to Parliament to vote for it, because, you know, we're not all that democratic here thanks to the Conservatives. He didn't have to do it. He's doing it almost certainly because it's a problem for Labour, you know. And this is why I think Starmer should have given a free vote. That's not a safe option either. I just think it's the safest option. But it's done now. He's going to whip to support. Disappointingly, he made the official announcement before the deal had even been published. That was stupid. Even if he'd already made his mind up for political reasons. And by the way, that's not a criticism. I've said before and I'll say it again. I think the Labour leader should make political decisions. They've got to win a political campaign. That's it. Get power. But it was a foolish decision. He didn't have to make it at the point he did. He could have waited a few days until it's reasonable he could have read it and then made that decision. It is what it is. Now, in theory, this is fine. You can definitely argue the case here. The deal is, you know, for what it is, good. It's a good, you know. And what is it? It's something that stops us exiting the transition period without a deal. Rejoiners have to face up to the facts here. The transition period was never going to be extended no matter what any other party in Parliament did, no matter what any other Parliament in the UK did. There was no way of influencing the negotiations either. All MPs outside of the Conservatives were ever going to be able to do was to say, what do they prefer? No deal, exit from the customs union and single market, or a free trade agreement, which also includes agreements on travel security and so on. Because I've said many times before, what democratic politics is, it's not about what you want, it's about what you least oppose. The problem is that too many people, including the leaders of the pro-EU cause, who have, let's be honest, failed, do not see it that way. They think it's about what they want, and so it goes like this. I want EU membership. Oh, is that what we're voting for? Oh, no, it's not. So I'm going to oppose it. It's a level of delusion that is no different to that of the Brexit delusions in the first place. The only difference is that the Brexiteers are aware of their delusions. The architects of Brexit, the people who actually drove it, they don't share these delusions of Brexit. They don't buy the arguments. They know the truth. Without that self-awareness, it would not have been so easy to fool the masses into supporting it. The problem with the Rejoin movement is that too many of the leaders, not all, too many of the leaders believe the delusions. You know, you can see it. I've seen statements like this from some of them. By supporting this deal, Labour will accept the responsibility for the damage that the deal brings. The deal brings no damage. All the damage that they talk of comes with Brexit. It would have been there with or without a deal. The deal limits the damage. We still get damage with Brexit, but it's not because of the deal, it's because what the deal does not cover. The Brexit deal, I'll tell you what, it's like someone has a broken wrist and someone else puts a sling on that broken wrist before going to the hospital. And then someone else says, well, that's not going to solve the problem, so I oppose the use of the sling. The bottom line is the Labour leadership have made its decision. It's a messy decision, actually a brave decision, not necessarily the right decision. I'm not convinced it is. But it's made the decision, and by attacking it, as many rejoiners are, you can criticise it, but by attacking it in the way that they are, what they're actually doing is hurting Labour's chances in 2024. So what do I think they should do? Just pipe down and get on with it? No, not at all. See, here's the problem for many rejoiners. They do not believe that Labour are making the right moves here. But on the other hand, there is no route to what they want without a Labour government. That's a fact. It's an unpleasant fact for many because we have to bear in mind I'm a Labour supporter, but there'll be plenty of them, if you take Brexit out of it, who would not really be interested in supporting Labour. They'd identify much more strongly with, say, the Liberal Democrats or the SNP or Plaid Cymru, Greens, even Conservative Party. You take Brexit out of it, moderate Conservatives would actually be voting Conservative. But the fact of the matter is that the Brexiteers are in charge of the Conservatives right now. And they are in charge of the government. And they are in charge of Parliament. Even when Boris Johnson goes, it will be another Brexiteer that takes over. In fact, it will probably be a genuine Brexiteer. Boris Johnson was never a genuine Brexiteer. He did it just because he wanted power. He said as much years ago. He said he doesn't really care about principles as such. He just wants power. He said he's not bothered about the argument. He'll take whatever argument gets him what he wants. You know, and this will not change until Brexit becomes toxic for the Conservatives. They will insist that their future leaders are all committed to the Brexit cause until that cause becomes toxic for them as a party. And it will not become toxic for them until it loses them elections, probably quite badly. So the route to stopping Brexit is to stop the Conservatives. And the only route to do that is for a Labour government to form at some point. The journey back to the EU needs to go through a few little waypoints. That includes forming another customs union, rejoining the single market, adopting electoral reform. A few other things as well, potentially. We'll have to see where we are in a few years. But it will never, ever start without a Labour government. So you're either, you're a rejoiner, let's say, and you, of course, think our MPs should adopt a particular stance. Conservative MPs are obviously not going to do that. And the Labour leadership is obviously not doing that at the moment. So what's the solution? Throw a strop and say, oh, that's it, I've done with it now, I'm leaving Labour. Okay, then have fun when the Conservatives win another 5 years of power in 2024. And then after that, until you actually learn, So what is the solution? I'd say have a look at what Marcus Rashford did this year. He led a hugely successful public campaign to force the government to U-turn on its policy of not providing funding for free meals for the poorest kids outside of school and college term times. He did it twice. The second time was a doozy because he also got funding for a whole load of other programmes as well. And now he's turned his attention to the temporary increase of universal credit by £20 a week becoming more permanent. Wish him well with that in 2021. And how did he do it? Did he join with opposition parties against the Conservatives? No, did he, L? Steered well clear of party politics. He made a point of not being party political. He went to great lengths to explain that he wasn't taking party sides on this. He made no comment at all about party politics. He just wanted the government to do a thing, and that was it. He didn't attack the Conservatives. He attacked the injustice that they had the power to help with, and once they did it, he thanked them. Rejoiners could learn a lot from that. Obviously, we are all political beasts and we have political opinions. We have party political opinions. We have opinions about which party would be best in government. Within that party, we may also have preferences for which leader would do the best as well. But focusing on that from this point of view is destructive. The Rejoin campaign is not party political. and we should keep it out of party politics because it causes all sorts of infighting that will completely knacker the cause. Unity wins political campaigns. Brexiteers learned this a few years ago. The Brexit campaign wasn't called Brexit back then, but leaving the EU is something that's run for decades, over 20 years. They were arguing with each other all the time. There were several groups all at each other's throats because all of them wanted the UK to leave the EU. But because it was all for different reasons, all different ideological reasons or reasons of personal gain, they all argued about what the UK should do after leaving, because that's what you naturally do. I want the UK to leave the EU for this reason. Well, I want the UK to leave the EU, but not for that reason. That's all completely wrong. So they just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. Then they realised how damaging it was, and they agreed that actually, do you know what? We all agree that we want to leave the EU, don't we? They dropped discussions of everything else. They just stopped talking about it. They stopped talking about what should happen afterwards because that didn't unite them. And once they put aside those differences and pulled resources, they started winning. And we can see where that got us. Of course, now that we've left, I expect those battles to start up again, if not immediately, at least in the next few years. But now it's the rejoiners who all want to go back to the EU, but that's where the unity ends. They all disagree on the best way to do it or how exactly to do it. I'd drop that. Focus on what unites us. We all want to rejoin the EU. So all rejoin groups would do best to focus on how membership of the EU is better than Brexit. This will soon be very easy. I mean, Brexiteers won by promising a fantasy land that had never existed, of which, Brexit would be. Brexit is a reality in 2021. EU membership is also a reality and it's also a recent memory. So we can directly compare the two. What's more, the public can directly compare the two. So compare the two and leave the MPs to do their thing. Focus on the public, and as we get more of the public to realise that Brexit is worse than membership, and more importantly, that we can reverse the process, we will increase the electoral incentives for MPs to back that position ahead of a future general election, which will make it easier for the party leadership to also back that position, preferably at the next general election, but the one after will do. If rejoiners unite at exactly the time when Brexiteers are likely to start dividing again, we could actually have a very powerful movement that swings it all the other way much more quickly than bickering amongst ourselves. But those are my thoughts. Thoughts that are prompted by being sick of being on the losing side all the bloody time. But there you go. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.